have some examples of stocks and options where I flip and make money quickly. So most of my trading strategies is actually swing trading, where I would buy a stock or options, hold it for X amount of days or weeks, and then sell it. And in some cases, I'll hold it for months, depending on how the market goes. But typically, I would prefer to swing trade because, let's face it, day trading involves too much time, and I actually can't wake up early enough to actually like scan the pre-market ahead of time. And also I'm actually busy at work, so I really don't have time to like micromanage the trades like by the seconds. But buying stocks or options, trading it here and there is something manageable for me. Swing trading is what I make the most money from. I understand that there's different ways to make money. Some people actually prefer to invest in long term, buy and hold a long term. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's how Warren Buffett made most of his money. Warren Buffett is also a big fan of selling call options and put options as well. But yeah, he makes most of his money from long-term investments. Oh, please, one more thing. Smash the like button and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Thank you. Alright, the first flip that I've done recently was for American Airlines. Stock ticker is AAL. I purchased 100 shares of American Airlines on March 20th at $13.97. And then I sold American Airlines the next day at an average price of $14.40. So that netted me $43 gross profit. The reason why I went with American Airlines is because American Airlines stock price falls within my preferred stock prices for swing trading, which typically ranges around anywhere from $10 to like $50. And also, American Airlines is one of the stocks that's also being traded a lot. So let's bring up my trading view here and see. It looks like on average, American Airlines can have up to 20 million shares traded per day. So as of March 10th, there's 27 million. March 13th, 32 million. March 14th, 35 million. So in order for swing trade to work, you would need a large number of volume being traded. So that makes American Airlines a perfect candidate for it. So that was my first flip. I've collected $43 gross profit. That's before taxes. The second flip that I've done was buying a RIOT put option. So I essentially opened to buy RIOT put option with a $9 strike price, expire on April 28th. I bought 4 option contracts. On average, it costs about $1.30, and so the total RIOT put option was $520. I then later sold or closed out my RIOT put options with an average of $1.43 per contract option. That netted me $52 gross profit. That's not too bad. The reason why I bought RIOT put option was because according to their candlesticks, the one metric that I look at a lot is called Bollinger Band. A Bollinger Band displays the standard deviations. So the blue line means, hey, this is the one standard deviation above the moving averages, which is the brown line here. And then the lower blue lines represents the lower standard deviation from the moving averages. So based on this, it appears that the past 4 candlesticks was way above the high Bollinger Band. And also towards the bottom here, we have the RSI, which is another metric that I look at a lot. So RSI means the Relative Strength Index. And Relative Strength Index essentially tracks the moving averages. As opposed to it calculating the averages, the RSI calculates the max value at 100. And it basically ranges anywhere from 0 to 100. So even according to the RSI, which is a second metric that I look at, it's over some of the RSI, as of March 21st. So that means that this stock was actually overbought. When I see signals that reaches a high Bollinger Band and also an RSI that's beyond 70, to me, those are 2 great signals that, hey, there's shares of RIOTs that's been overbought. So I think it's a matter of time to the price drop, and I was right. So as of March 20th, that's when I opened the RIOT put option, and then I later sold it. The next flip that we have is TNA. TNA stands for Small Cap ETF Leverage. So it's essentially a leverage ETF where it's meant for traders, not so much for investors. Because when you have these funds that are leveraged, that means that the company are borrowing money. They're using margin basically each day, if let's say the stock price doesn't move enough, they will still lose money because they have to pay back the bank in margin interest. So TNA was something that I pre-calculated in advance. In order for me to swing trade TNA, the small cap leverage 3x. So on March 16th, that night, I had to carefully create an Excel spreadsheet and come up with, what is my total budget that I'm willing to invest in TNA. So let me sum this up for you guys. If you look at my total buys here, there's 4 different lots, and these were pre-calculated ahead of time. So I remember during that morning, I had put my orders in and made sure that I followed my game plan. So, my budget was about like $4,000 to $5,000 for TNA. So that's the most amount of money I would spend on TNA. Now, it's really hard to predict what is the best price to get in at. And so I had to use my dollar averages, right? For TNA, I had put my first order in at a limit price of $29.96. So the first lot I said, okay, for TNA, if it reached $29.96 minimum, then buy 33 shares of it. And so that executed. But then, there's also a chance that the stock price can go lower during that day. So then I put another order in for 18 shares, limit price of $29.50. So at any given time, if it reaches at $29.50 or lower, then buy 18 shares, right? And then I said, okay, for the remaining funds I have, if it reaches $28.50, then buy 70 shares. And that actually executed. So let's look at TNA on our trading view chart on March 17th. Looks like open at $29.96. And that was probably the reason why I set my limit order at a certain price, depending on what the closing price and the opening price was during that day. So it opened at $29.96. And let me go back to my spreadsheet. Yep, so I put a limit for $29.96 in case if TNA continue to goes up. If it do go up, then I will at least have 33 shares. But if it drops further, then I have money set aside to buy more shares. Notice how the stock price ranges from $28.27 as the low, goes up to $30.33 as the high. And this is one of those stocks that is really volatile, and that's why it's called 3X. Basically, this company borrows money, whatever the small cap value is worth during that time, because it borrows money and uses margin, it moves 3 times the amount. So if it goes up, it goes up 3 times. If it goes down, it will also go down 3 times. That's not necessarily true in the long run. 3X is not really 3X in return over time. It may be true for that day because you have to factor in the interest on there, the margin interest, and also there's room for human error where that portfolio manager may also make mistakes too, right? So it's not really 3X in the long term. If you look at it on a daily basis, I would say the 3X, direction, share, small cap, bold 3X share, it would make sense, but not from a long-term standpoint. So if we go back to my transaction here, on March 17th, I have a limit order for some shares at $29.96. If it goes lower, then buy more shares at $29.50. If it goes below $28.50, then buy another 70 shares. So that's how I accumulate the shares for TNA. So that gives me a total of $3,514 worth of TNA shares. Now, of course, no one knows when it will go back up. And normally when I sell, I just sell it all at once. I don't really go for the moving averages, break it out to different lots. Even though there's different swing traders and investors that may break it out to smaller lots, but just for the sake of time, I just sold it all at once. So I sold all of my shares, 121 shares, on March 20th for $30.20. And that actually totals to $3,654. And then when we combine my total buys, total sells, that netted $139.52 gross profit before taxes. So that's how much I made, and a lot of these didn't really take that long. It took me maybe 5-10 minutes for me to analyze the charts the previous nights, come up with a game plan execution. And if certain moments are right, I may also close out a trade done on the same day. But for the most part, generally speaking, I tend to hold on to my shares or stocks for a couple of days or a couple of weeks to make the most money. Because sometimes it's really impossible to predict if something's going to go up or down, to be honest. And sometimes it's just not enough time throughout the day. I'm sure most of you are probably busy working from 9 to 6, so it's really hard to find time to really sit there and monitor the stock market like that. So, I would definitely recommend swing trading over day trading. But for those that have skills and have time, people can make good profit off day trading as well. But for someone that has a corporate job, I think you're better off doing swing trading as another way to make extra income. Or, of course, the second way is nowadays, I've seen a lot of folks on YouTube bragging about their second jobs or third jobs. People are working from home, and they're getting more gutsy to get another job added on top of the current job. That's something I noticed recently, where people are doubling up their jobs while working from home. I would still prefer swing trading stocks and options to make side money as opposed to getting a second job, because to be honest, it's kind of exhausting at my current job already. And I don't think I have the brain power or time to perform a second job, performing well at it too. These 3 flips took me less than 10 minutes of research time. Now, keep in mind, I have a lot more flips than just 3. These are just 3 that I want to show some examples of how you could also make money with, a couple $100 or a couple of $1,000 you have savings. Please let me know in the comments below if you have swing traded or possibly day traded, even long-term investment. Let me know some of your side hustle money making strategies. Maybe some of you have a second job. Let me know below, what are some of your side hustles. As always, there are 1,000 ways to make money. Cha-ching!